Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and this is Karak 8 Peaks, a very important place in Warhammer Fantasy because it is an incredibly contested zone, having changed hands at various points many times. This is one of the larger former dwarf holds and is currently contested by the Skaven, the Night Goblins and also the dwarfs. In Total War Warhammer, 3 legendary lords are vying for control. This has been since Warhammer 1 all the way up to Warhammer 2 as the characters were introduced. Belegar Ironhammer for the dwarfs, Skarsnik for the goblins, these two were introduced in the King of the Warlord DLC, and then finally Queek Headtaker for the Skaven, who was introduced during the launch of Total War Warhammer 2. All of these characters have something to do with Karak 8 Peaks. The campaign is heavily incentivized to go and capture it, get rid of some negatives that you may have, but also acquire some rather good bonuses for your faction and make your campaign a little bit more fun. The problem is that there is no proper race to 8 Peaks. Sure, the AI will go for it, because some of them are so close that the AI just naturally gravitates towards it, but the issue is, and it's been asked by the community many times, is where is the actual race to 8 Peaks? Why is this not represented fully? And we should really have a patch for it. And I feel like one patch dedicated to this, kind of reworking all 3 factions, would be absolutely amazing. And it can be done in a pretty fun way. So today we're going to talk about how this could be done and just generally what we could see from there. But before anything, a big thank you to our sponsor Instant Gaming for sponsoring this video. Instant Gaming is a platform where you'll be able to pick up a lot of different titles at discounted rates, even the moment that they release. There's a bunch of games coming out lately and, you know, January is a pretty dry month, so why not get the best deal for it? For example, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, the Gold Edition, you can get for 30% off. This releases in around 22 days. I picked up Path of Exile 2 because I wanted to see if I liked it at a pretty good discount, and yeah, it's pretty fun. It's a bit complicated for my caveman brain, but I'm getting there. Not only that, but we do have our monthly giveaway going on. Win the game of your choice. All you have to do is click on the link in the description below and sign up. You don't even have to make a purchase, and you can pick whatever title you like. Making a purchase through my special links in the description also supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which I think is kind of cool, and this is a service and a website that I use fairly often myself. You know, Warhammer isn't cheap, so I have to find the best deals in other locations so I can actually afford my armies. A big thank you to Instant Gaming for sponsoring this video, and now let's return to the video itself. So Karak 8 Peaks is a 2-region province. When you're playing as these factions, you got Ten Slaughter and then Valea's Sorrow at a standard minor settlement. I'd actually change it where 8 Peaks would be by itself, and it would be a single settlement province, right? And then Valea's Sorrow plus another settlement could make up a brand new province. The idea here is to make 8 Peaks a 1 settlement, 1 defending area, and also turn it into a 12 slaughter. Or if possible, which I don't know if it could be, seeing as the dwarfs now have their own under section with the deeps, it would be kind of cool if there was a second panel there just for 8 Peaks to represent how absolutely massive 8 Peaks is, and that way you can have some extra buildings coming up from there. Maybe removing the ability to have the deeps in 8 Peaks, but you've got a special version which is available to Queek, Skarsnik and Belegar. With some extra buildings, the idea is again heavily incentivizing this area. Now, getting to 8 Peaks doesn't take too long. You can pretty much do it within like 10 turns or so, depending on the chosen race there, which is then smooth sailing after that because you'll start picking up all your resources, your landmarks, all the usual stuff, right? I'd have it so if I'm playing as Belegar, Queek or Skarsnik, the AI should be incentivized to go down there too. The idea is you're playing a bit of a race, so all 3 factions will be vying for control. And you might recall when you play as the dwarfs normally, if you go to the Silver Pinnacle, there is a series of buildings that you can build up, tied to some landmarks, which would then spawn some armies in an effort to take it back. Well, something that should exist, where to actually get the full benefits from the landmarks in 8 Peaks, you should build that up, have to deal with waves of enemies, and from there, you'll have to wait a certain amount of time before it's fully built up and you'll get the full bonuses from your landmarks. This means, for example, if you are controlling the dwarfs with Belegar Ironhammer, there'd be armies of Skaven and also Night Goblins spawning. And my neighbor has just decided to start hammering. Awesome. In a perfect world, there could be a chance that those Skaven and Night Goblin armies would already be at war with each other, so they could start cannibalizing themselves, and the victor would then start pushing to try and take over 8 Peaks from you. You know, it's the whole idea that all 3 factions are fighting, but that's not where it finishes. You see, something interesting could be done here. They could add an element of risk. Once you've actually upgraded everything, the enemy armies would stop spawning, so no more Skaven and Night Goblins if you're still playing as Belegar. However, a quest battle would appear, and this is where they could do a quest battle, which is an FFA, right? Literally, you coming in with your army, whatever you have, an army of Skaven and an army of Night Goblins. Again, I'm just using the dwarves as an example here. And the victor then automatically takes over Carrack 8 Peaks. So the idea here is you could risk it, get even more bonuses, but there's a chance that you could lose. And there's a chance that they will take it from you. Again, adding to the theme of the ever-changing nature of all the different layers of Carrack 8 Peaks. I think something like that would be very cool, and it would give you incentive. You've lost. Okay, time to build up another army and go back and take it. If the AI took it before you, it could literally just say, this is going to start soon. Do you want to send your army for that? I feel like the tech is there for that. And obviously if Creative Assembly did something like that, they could end up doing maybe something a little bit different, but with the same interpretation in some way, shape, or form. But no, that wouldn't be just it, because, yeah, while it does add in a fun campaign element for free factions which people have paid for, why not have a little bit of a rework so that way each of the factions have something unique? Belegar, for example, there was a pretty big dwarf rework. He got nothing. Skarsnik just recently got Stalking Stance, which is kind of nice, but it would be nice if he had a little bit more to it. And then finally, we've got our good friend Queek. Skaven being one of the most popular races, but still nothing was kind of added to him to make him a bit more unique. Also, you know, Plagues for Scrollcross were at it. I have to mention that. It's like legally binding for me. So let's talk about how these factions could be made a little bit more unique. Skarsnik, being the legendary lord for the Night Goblins, could be given the Deeps mechanic, very similar to that of the Dwarfs, well, pretty much just taking it, but with its own unique buildings, to give you more that feeling that you're playing Night Goblins. They usually take dwarf holes and they burrow deep underground. They're not the types of goblins or orcs that you'd see during the daylight a lot, so the idea here is, yeah, this would make perfect sense. You would be playing a very drastically different campaign with Skarsnik than you would with all the other types of greenskins. While we're at it, you know, there's a bunch of greenskin characters that haven't been reworked, but I feel like Skarsnik deserves a big push because he is so very much loved by the community. This wouldn't take away from having a special Deeps building in Carrack 8 Peaks because that would be truly unique with its own special buildings, but this would be a generic one that you could have in different locations. Recycling the mechanic, yes, but it makes sense to have that there for a tribe of Night Goblins which generally just take over different holds and kind of make their homes in there. As we've seen through multiple patches and so on, sometimes reusing mechanics where applicable and changing things ever so slightly does do wonders for a campaign and makes things last a lot better. It adds its own level of uniqueness without having to need so much time creating something truly unique where it's not really needed for certain characters. Queek Headtaker needs to have some sort of head-taking mechanic. It's something that's embedded into his lore, because he does have that stuff on his back, right? That's the trophy rack, and those will kinda tell him stuff. They whisper into his mind. Yes, he's lost the plot, but most Skaven have too. So think about it very similar to that of maybe Grom the Paunch, but a lot more stripped down. You don't want loads and loads of different things, but the head of a dwarf, the head of a human, a head of one of every race, where then you can pick and mix and match them with a maximum of maybe 3 heads, just to be able to get some faction bonuses here and there. We've had a lot of different mechanics implemented, which would be the basis of a head-taking mechanic. It's weird that we don't have that just yet, but it would be great, you know, bring in something that is very, very much tied to his lore, and also at that point some extra faction effects to incentivize you with clan wars to use a lot more clan rats, actually, a lot more clan rats, because that's what they're known for. And if they wanted to be kind of fun about it, a free unit with clan rats with additional hand weapons. I know that's something that was never in a tabletop, but it's something that was described in various interpretations of Warhammer Fantasy lore, and it would be kind of cool if he had something completely unique for him, just to again incentivize you to use clan rats. This is something that we've seen before, where there's units that only Alfari the Grim has access to. It would be using the same rig and animations as the clan rats, but just an extra weapon. I know some people would say here, well, he should really get Scar Bloodtail, and yes, I do agree with you, but remember that Creative Assembly once said that the legendary heroes, legendary lords and stuff would not be possible in interim patches, whereas new units would. So I think that just makes a lot more sense. It would be cool to see Scar Bloodtail in the future though, maybe we get like a legendary heroes / legendary characters pack. Would be nice down the line. Now Belegar is a little bit harder to think about. You see, what happens here is that he's already got something that makes him very, very strong. The 4 ghost heroes from the very start of your campaign are amazing, and the fact that you can just keep using them, split them up into different armies, it makes you a force to be reckoned with, even with the rather brutal upkeep reductions that Belegar has from the start of the campaign until you pick up 8 peaks. What could be different here is just something very minor, which would be returning the holds, right? So if dwarf factions end up dying out, and you take, say for example, Karakern, you can end up giving it back and reviving the faction. I think something that would work really well is a way of, he has now got 8 peaks, or he's on his way to getting 8 peaks, so he wants to bring back the other dwarf factions. And that way you can have more dwarf factions doing some stuff and potentially confederate with them in the future. This means that maybe Fulgrim has died. You can bring him back, you can let him expand in his own right, and then just use the mechanic to confederate him, which would be beneficial. The minor factions not so much, but the idea here is having more dwarfs around for that roleplay purpose. Very, very small. Very, very small. I think something like this could work. An 8 peaks patch, which is just reusing some stuff and adding some bits and bobs here. It's not something that I could expect anytime soon, but in a 0.1 or 0.2 patch, it's more than possible. Give a reason for people to go back to these lords and play as them, or pick them up if they haven't yet. I know some people haven't picked up Belegar and Skarsnik yet, which is weird, because Skarsnik is quite fun. Belegar, I mean, you could go without him. Queek is fun, but you really need something unique for one of the more famous Skaven characters. To be honest, all Skaven characters should have something unique. Yes, even Tretch. Even Tretch. But yeah, these are just some ideas I'm throwing out there. If someone from Creative Assembly listens and they want to take it, so be it. Or if they want to be inspired by it for something, maybe you guys have here. Maybe you guys have some better ideas. Because at the end of the day, I'm not all-knowing. It could just sound like shit, to be honest. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let's start a bit of a discussion. And hopefully we'll see something for them soon. Honestly, I'm just hoping that by the end of the lifespan of the game, we'll see everyone having some unique mechanic, or at least something that doesn't make it feel like, oh yeah, this is a major character, but playing a minor faction. But yeah, have a good one, guys. I'll see you all again very, very soon.